I want to get back into this thing about positive thinking again for the 150th billionth time. And I don't have 150 million videos up. But I think the thing with me about positive thinking is the issue of responsibility. That's the thing. I was thinking about Jean-Paul Sartre. Or Sartre. Let's say it the French way. Jean-Paul Sartre. The French philosopher. With my terrible French accent. But anyway, here's the thing. The thing about bad faith, the term that he coined. Bad faith is when you do things. Basically, to put it in the simplest way of putting it. Anybody who knows philosophy can either correct me or whatever, and that's okay. Bad faith, from what I understand, is basically when people do things and they don't own up to the responsibility of their own actions. You do something, but it's always something else that made you do it. You didn't have a free choice in doing it. You didn't do it freely. It's basically just blaming other people for stuff. If you hit somebody, for example, bad faith would say, this person made me so mad, he made me hit him. That's bad faith. And I suppose the opposite would, although he didn't use the word good faith would be, you know what, that person said things, I got pissed off and I hit him. It might not sound like there's much of a difference in the way I worded it, but it's a difference. One is a matter of taking the responsibility. I chose to do that. I chose to hit him. I could just as easily have not done that as I did it. Now, you might say, well, what does this have to do with positive thinking? I was thinking about criticism I was getting. And it was like really one of these, what I consider an outer space criticism. So I'm not really answering that 100% because it was like some weird connections a person is making about positive thinking, which has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. But it's not even so much about positive thinking as it is about being responsible. There are people who would sit there, for example, and not take responsibility. They won't pay their bills, for example, because the Lord is going to take care of it. Or they won't take care of their health because the Lord is going to take care of it. Or they're not going to educate their children because the Lord is going to do it, or something like that. That's just simply not taking responsibility. And you're blaming it on the Lord and the Bible and God and everything else. And people run around saying that that's positive thinking. And that has nothing to do with positive thinking. Not in any way I'm thinking about it. It's just called not being responsible. That's just called not being responsible. In life, you take responsibility for the things you do. You see, if I was a Jehovah's Witness and my child was in a car accident, let's say I have a teenage daughter, just an example, and she's in a car accident. The hospital calls me and they say, well, okay, you need to sign a consent form so she can get a blood transfusion. I say, no, I'm not going to sign that consent form because it's against my religion. And God, she won't get into the, the what they call the earthly paradise. They don't believe in heaven in a normal sense of it. So I don't want to mess it up for her. so I'm not going to sign that. That's, to me, that's bad faith. In a Jean-Paul Sartre sense of the word, bad faith, meaning you're not taking real responsibility for something. Instead of saying, I feel uncomfortable because I'm scared that this belief that I've been conditioned into has got me so scared that some bad thing's going to happen to my daughter if I sign that, even though the doctors are assuring me that if I don't sign it, then she doesn't get a blood transfusion. And in this hospital, we don't have any artificial blood or anything. That she is more than likely going to die no matter what they do. But if she gets a blood transfusion, she's got a pretty good chance of surviving. But instead of me looking at things from that point of view right there and making the choice I really would like to make, and that is to sign that thing, I'm too conditioned and too scared into superstition Although people are not going to say that. But if you be a good faith about it, you're going to admit that, yeah, this is, this thing that I was conditioned into, I have no real solid reason for believing that other than I'm just afraid. And at this point, I don't have the courage to break free from that. And I don't want to be disowned by the elders and all my other people and shunned and disfellowed and whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and take the wimp route. Basically, that's what bad faith is. Jean-Paul Sartre didn't put it all. I'm sort of extending on it, what he's saying. But instead of saying, look, I'm going to take the wimp route. No, you take the more courageous route. Do that. And you could either explain to your religious people the decision you made and why you made it and be brave about it and face the consequences of that group if they say, well, we disown you. Then face it and say, all right, you know what? You disown me. But when I think about that, the life of my daughter is more important than whether or not you all think I'm a wonderful person. You think I'm damned? You think I'm going to be judged by God on Judgment Day? Fine. But that's between me and God. That's not between me and you all. And I got the balls to make a decision. And that's good faith. That's good faith. See, the person still believes in God, but they still make a decision based on what they know in their heart. Yes, following feelings. That sort of outer space decision that somebody was criticizing me, that somehow following your feelings is going to make you a bigot. I mean, that to me is from another planet. But my thing is, I'm just talking about what I understand about this. Yeah, this video is probably going to get about 2 views. And I know the 2 people going to see it. Me, when I check it to see how it went, and the other person who's going to write a lengthy criticism along with continued, another thing, and continued, and another thing, and continued. And still, that person never sees what I say. That's always a funny thing. And I'm going to say that up front. I'm going to be rather blunt on this. It's always funny how that individual who watches my videos never really watches my video. They never pay attention to what I'm saying. They have categorized me and they see something, and that's it. They're really arguing against not me, but a preformed ideal that they had years before they ever even watched any of my videos, years before there was even such a thing as YouTube. And so once they classify you a certain way, they're really not arguing with you. They're arguing with their own ideal. Yes, this video seems to ramble, but the point I'm getting to still is the thing about good faith. When I talk about positive thinking, it's not so much that I have to explain what positive thinking is, but it's the matter of good faith thing. It's the good faith issue. Make a decision, do something, and own up to it. I've decided to do this, and I'm responsible for any consequences that happen. The consequences could be good, or they could be bad. When I stood up for my coworkers in a past job, I got a foot in my ass. I got a severe foot in my ass for doing that. Now, I could have decided, well, gee, I don't want to get a foot in my ass. I better just shut up as I watch all these injustices happen and watch all this discrimination happen and watch all these other bad things. And if I just sit here because I'm too scared, I'm too chicken shit, I'm just going to stay here. Yeah. But I followed a sort of feeling inside of me. Because one thing is there are 2 feelings. One feeling is the fear of being punished, and the other feeling is the feeling of knowing what's right. I followed the feeling of knowing what's right. That is what I think of when I call something positive thinking. Follow that feeling that you know is right. So, that's all I have to say about that.